You know what? Let's open up our Monday with something a little fun. Or, I'm opening up Monday, but like whenever this video gets edited, it's opening up there. I don't know. That's Guitar Rocker's prerogative, not mine. But I want to open up today's stream with something a little funny, if not a little stupid. So it turns out there actually is a Republican congressman who decided to go and learn more about trans people, but he did it in the most biased way you possibly can, where you don't go to actually learn more about trans people, you just kind of make your way into a convention that trans people are hosting in order to make fun of everything you see, because that's the only way this man understands how to operate anything, is in opposition to it. So we'll go over that here in a second, but first, I want to go into the fan art section because it's at least a little bit of fun before we get into anything else. This one is from Karamba3141, and it is various different stages of Suris. We have a very thin one, we have a somewhat muscular one, we have a thick one, and then we have a chonk one. Oh boy. As always, thank you for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop a fan art piece into the fan art section of the Discord. With that all said, let's go ahead and start checking out what we've got here from Brian Harrison. So he says in this Twitter thread, the Texas government hosted a transgender conference at Austin today. So naturally, I snuck in, and by today I mean in March, but come on. I missed this when it happened, so now you get to be subjected to my reactions to it. The Texas government is promoting a radical liberal agenda with your tax dollars. First point of criticism: radical and liberalism don't belong in the same sentence, because in the United States, liberalism is just the status quo. Liberalism is a broad acceptance of the current social norm while also enjoying capitalism. I'm sorry, that just sounds like America as it is right now, and I have a lot of criticisms about that in and of itself, but this is from the same kind of person who would see a liberal agenda as trying to promote communism, when communists and liberals, they ain't really friends outside of not liking getting screwed over with bad medical care. So let's go ahead and take a look at what else he's got here. The first thing I see on campus is a banner promoting Transcendence, a century of black queer ecstasy. Okay, so what's the problem here? If there is any community in the United States that is not really down with the gay community, it is other marginalized communities. Because after you are already marginalized, there tends to be a very high focus in trying to get accepted by more people around you. So, yeah, no, there's a lot more homophobia in those communities, and it needs to be, I don't want to say taken care of, because how do you take care of broad swath systemic shit like that? But it is something that is problematic in a ton of communities. So celebrating people who are able to be themselves irrespective of that, I don't see the problem there, like, at all. Then he goes on with another part of the thread going, I found the agenda for day one, including at 11 a.m., keeping time, queer crypt temporal attunement through tarot. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and say right now, this sounds like somebody who's never, ever, ever been to a convention. Because if you've ever been to a con, you are used to seeing weird shit on these all the time, because they have to fill up the time with speakers, and the more unique and weird you can get a panel, the more likely it is people are going to be interested in going to that panel, so the better it is for you to use it at your conference. As somebody who has both spoken at convention panels and has gone to my friends' convention panels, the weirder you can get, the better it's gonna be. So let's see here. Panel 1. I bore a hell within me. Native femicide and reproduction in Frankenstein. Okay. I don't really see the issue with that. That just seems like an analysis of the book Frankenstein. Okay, cool. 10:45 to 11, the collaborative composition practice of young LGBTQ writers. Neat. First of all of these conference times, the 15 minutes to do this, I am too long-winded to do any of that. I am impressed with every speaker at this conference, just being able to get this shit out concisely. Holy shit. The collaborative composition practice of young LGBTQ writers, keeping time, the one that they mentioned. Again, it sounds weird to me, but if he's going to be fighting this shit probably from a Christian perspective, he is in Texas, is it any weirder than just fucking consuming the flesh of your Lord and Savior, just through a carb? I don't think that's actually very weird by comparison at all. That's just awkward. Let's see here. Introduction to the keynote speaker. Neat keynote. Okay, so this is all one big conference, not a convention. So these aren't panels that are being held in different areas that you can go to. These are panels being held back to back to back to back to back to back to back. Very different than my panel experience. Okay, cool. Let's see here. Mally Denver, the living substance of all my books. Okay, who cares? Digital healing from individual survival to collective core reimagining workplace health in Chinese women's literature. I don't see anything particularly wrong with any of these titles for panel discussions. It seems pretty basic, right? Finding the space to dream, abolish pedagogy and women's health in a Texas woman, abolition pedagogy and women's health in a Texas women's prison. This just seems like a perspective piece. What's the problem with that? Art talk, hysteria, walk to WCP to interact with the sculpture. Okay, again, I've been to conventions. None of this seems fucking weird to me, right? 847 Lily, thank you for redeeming your points for an owl. Also, I see Axo says, is it actually going to work? What are we trying to figure out here? Anyway, let's continue. See what else we get in here. Brian Harrison says, walking in with the catering staff. I arrived in time to hear some of the presentation on I Bore Hell Within Me, a Native Femicide and Reproduction Frankenstein. Okay, are you going to give any perspective on that or just say, I listened to it? After listening to as much of that as I could handle, I began walking around the campus. So you're not going to give any perspective on what you heard. There was nothing about that time, that keynote speech that, said anything to you. Obviously, you had a big problem with it. You chose to talk about it. Do you want to give any information, even misinformation, to any of us about this? My God, anything at fucking all, please. After listening to as much of that as I can handle, I began walking around campus. Resources for trans folks, including medical transitioning. I like how he has it in... I like how he has it in quotation marks. Okay, so... I don't care about your next button. Fucking tutorials. Get tutorials off of my social media websites that I barely access anymore. Resources for trans folks, medical transitioning resources, resources to change your name, general supplies, hotlines, mental health. What's the problem there? Trans people have been denied these resources, so it's more likely that people will, compile everything they can that includes those. What? Instructions on how to use pronouns. Okay, your standard she, her, hers, your standard he, him, his, they, them, and theirs, in plural or singular, they and z and they, which I do not understand, but that doesn't matter to me. Here, her. Okay, so all these pronouns here are made the fuck up. There's not really a problem with that because all words are made the fuck up. So, yeah, whatever somebody wants to call them, it's fine. It's whatever. I think it's silly, but then again, my love for Magic the Gathering can be something that somebody finds silly for me, so who cares? I don't see the problem here either. There's lots of people who, especially older folks, who read this shit and they just kind of have an aneurysm and don't understand how to communicate with other people. Mention your pronouns when you introduce yourself. Normalize asking for and stating your own pronouns. This is conversation that's been happening for 10 years, more than 10 years, actually. People have been complaining about this shit for well over a decade. Again, I think it's silly. I think it's silly to introduce yourself with your pronouns every single time. Feels kind of cumbersome and agitating. But again, if somebody does that, what's the problem? And if there's a brochure on how to do that for people who are more comfortable when they do that, who the fuck cares? It's fine. It's completely fine. Then he goes into the next thing. Is God a submissive or a dominant? Using the interrelationships between Jamal o-Jalal attributes in Islamic theology to reflect upon the themes of pain and pleasure in kink and BDSM, Dr. Haag asked the question, is God a sub or a dom? See, that just sounds funny. Like, it should be perfectly okay to make fun of religion, okay? I don't care what your opinion is on the existence of a god or not. I'm quite agnostic to all that shit. But, like, it should be perfectly okay to make fun of the literature. There should be nothing wrong with making fun of that at all. I want to go to this and just hear what is said. I don't care what the end result is. I have no horse in this race, but I'm interested in the conversation. That's funny. Transconvening. Why do we have that in quotation marks? What's going on there? Why is that in quotation marks? I don't understand. What? Trans people are convening. They are convening, and also they are trans. Like this would be way weirder if instead of transconvening it was like, hey, how to get your mouth comfortable with girl dick. How to go down on your newly transitioned boyfriend. How to make a clitoris feel like a penis. Like, yeah, that would be a bit stranger. Although maybe it wouldn't be that strange, all things considered. That said, just, there are people convening, and they are trans. That's what you got, buddy? You just point and laugh to it, and that's all it is? You know trans women can lactate, right? It's weird. These people are weird. These people are weird. Because all they're doing is pointing to somebody existing. And that's their hang-up. What the fuck? Transconvening against disposability, trans care, and lessons from disability justice. Join LGBTQ studies for a roundtable discussion against disability justice approaches to trans health, well-being, and care, featuring Cameron, Awkward Rich, Eli Care. I don't know all these people. I'm not going to name them all. You can read. Okay. So, if I were to take a guess at what this is about, it's about injustices in the medical care system in regards to trans people. As an idea, it's weird to me that when a trans woman who has been living as a trans woman and has been on hormones for over 10 years is not able to get gender reassignment surgery because the doctor cannot establish enough of a medical need for it, despite the obvious feeling of discomfort that it gives to the person. And given that the brain is as much a part of the body as anything else, brain discomfort should be something that we care about in the medical industry. Now, I'm not pulling this example out of my ass. I'm pulling this example out of the conversation that was had with the doctor, with my trans girlfriend this morning at the goddamn doctor's office. So I'm not saying this stuff out of whole cloth. I'm speaking from lived experience here. It's really, really weird. And I think that talking about this from the lens of disability justice makes sense. Because when you are disabled, I am not disabled. I mean, my brain issues notwithstanding, but I am not disabled. But I have had plenty of friends and have dated plenty of people who are disabled. And there was a very, very long-standing problem of feeling invisible out in culture and feeling like your issues, like, say, chronic pain, were completely thrown out by doctors. Like, they were things that doctors just thought you were lying about. Hell, I remember one time an older partner of mine had a problem that needed to be fixed medically, And the doctor basically said the problem is you're overweight, when actually their ovaries were killing them and needed to be removed. And that was way, 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 way more problematic than just you're overweight. This kind of shit happens all the damn time. Or people who have medical issues that prevent their bones from working properly, talking about that to their doctors, and their doctors going, you're just trying to get painkillers. And it's like, not once did the person ever mention painkillers. They're just disabled and chronically ill and want some kind of way to feel better, or they want you to try to fix the damn problem. That's... I'm sorry, but seeing that shit firsthand in my life around people that I've cared for means that, yeah, I can understand why you would have this conference saying, hey, here's all of the hoops that people will try to go through to not care for you in the medical industry. They've had these hoops as shit in place to stop disabled people from getting what they need, and they're using the same tactics against trans people. Let's talk about that. And the only thing you could point out here was trans convening. Oh yeah, trans people talked. Big fucking whoop. Prominently displayed in a glass bookcase. Just read the title. Terrorizing Gender. So we're talking about the fact that gender is a social construct, and there's an idea that if you're dismantling that social construct in any way, shape, or form, or changing the way people perceive it, that is a form of terrorizing. It's gender terrorism, as you, if you will, which is different than, say, a non-binary person attacking the White House. That's a different kind of gender terrorism, and I can't say whether or not certain things should happen, but I can say that I don't see a fucking problem with this title. Who cares? Terrorizing Gender. Transgender visibility and the surveillance practices of the U.S. security state. My guy, you know that the United States is a security state, and you know that you've been doing shit like putting trans people's names in lists when they try to go and get passports to leave the United States. Fucking hell. Razor says, isn't everything a social construct, though? No, this piece of paper isn't a social construct. The fact that we call it paper is socially constructed, sure. The fact that I call a phone isn't socially constructed, but there's not a whole lot about a phone that is a social construct. That is a mechanical construct. If you want a social construct, you're looking at, say, money, where it literally only has value because we agree as a society that it has value. Like, that is the definition of a social construct. And gender, where the things associated with it, like how you dress, how you're supposed to comport yourself, the way that you speak, the way that your voice should sound, the way your body should look, all of that is also a social construct. The law is also a social construct. And, you know, I'm not saying that anybody should be breaking the law in modern times with an overtly unlawful administration doing terrible things to people every goddamn day. I've never once said that, and you can't hold me accountable for that at all. But my hormones make me moody stickers. Oh, sorry, the one I missed here. I'll get to it in a second. Take a button, take a sticker, take a class. It's woman's gender and sexual studies. My hormones make me moody. Yeah, they that's what hormones do. They can make you moody. That's the thing that they do. Like, testosterone can make you angry, and, you know, estrogen can make you sad. It can also make you, you know, grow hair in weird places. Testosterone can also make you grow hair in weird places. Like, I don't fucking see the problem here. Your hormones make you moody. That's what they do. What are we just pointing to it and saying that, oh, look, it's so weird that this person says that? A library entrance with trans flags or like LGBTQ flags. Who cares? I don't see the problem with that. Like, you've got a place with a couch and trans flags. I feel, or not just trans flags, but, you know, like LGBTQ flags. I feel like this would be weirder if this was a casting couch, but it's not. It's just a couch colored the same way. But even if it was, then there would be a conversation to be had about the sexual exploitation and fetishization of trans and genderqueer ideas. Like the fact that we have a bunch of weird pornographic names for trans women that just really, really should not be the words that we use for trans women. And I'm not going to say them, but you know that they're in your search histories if you're Republican, so you already know what words I'm talking about. We can have conversations about that. I've had more friends who are sex workers and trans than friends who are sex workers and cis. Because oftentimes when you get kicked out of several jobs for being trans, or, you know, are particularly neurodivergent, there are only certain ways you can sustain yourself that are left open to you. I'm just saying, I don't see the weirdness here. I don't. It's just a couch with fucking flags. Nothing to do with transgenderism, but what the hell? Ease your mind. About to begin an exam? Shake your worries with this mindfulness activity. Feel the ground beneath you, wiggle your toes and fingers, shrug your shoulders, and open your jaw to release tension. What's weird about that? Ease your mind, shrug your shoulders, and open your jaw. Yeah, we carry a lot of tension in the upper area of our body. It's why when masseuses massage you, they're often focusing on the upper area of your body, typically the neck and the upper shoulders, which, yes, does loosen your jaw. So shrugging your shoulders and loosening your jaw are ways to relieve tension. This is just grounding. Like, if you added in an extra step where you grabbed a plush animal and squeezed it tight, then you would have the grounding instructions that I was given by Turning Tide Studios when she was helping me through my own anxiety attacks. What the fuck is the problem here? Like, what's... Oh no, there's a piece of paper that talks about how to ground yourself if you're having an anxiety attack. Why? Why does that matter? Why does that matter? Disability justice approaches to trans health. Again, I already covered why this would make sense. A lot of your arguments for disability justice and trying to get around the many ways the doctors try to work around giving you care are the same workarounds that doctors try to use for trans people. So, of course, you would have to employ the same techniques. What's so weird about that? I feel like being connected to this community in any way, shape, or form makes you learn all this shit. Okay, what's this next one that he has issues with? Cis-centrism, trans-misogyny, colorism, sizeism, biphobia, and transphobia gather around, combating trans misogynoir and queer phobia. Okay, well, let's go ahead and break each of those issues down, because he wanted to point them out, so this is the shit that he has issues with. Cis-centrism. The idea that the entire world should revolve around being cis, as opposed to being more inclusive to people who are trans. I don't see the problem with that. Like, we should have a more inclusive society. When you talk about cis-centrism, it's the fact that a majority of our media, which is one of the top areas which society and how we comport ourselves flows down from, is based on cis people being the norm. And to another extension, it's also based on men being the norm and men being in power being the norm. And that's been a thing for way longer than it hasn't. Like, Hollywood criticizing these things now is kind of weird by comparison. And it shouldn't be weird, but it most certainly is. As for biphobia being a thing, or I'll get to biphobia in here in a second. The next one was trans-misogyny, right? Yeah, trans-misogyny. Okay. So the fact that we tend to be more misogynistic towards trans women and dismiss their ideas, I mean, yeah, that makes entirely more sense than anything. I mean, I've made the joke a handful of times that if you're in the United States South and somebody is being misogynistic to you, that's oddly trans-affirming, even if it is, like, objectively bad, but I know that's not what they're talking about here specifically, but having a conversation about it is not bad. Colorism, we have had a billion conversations that need to happen about race, so sure, why not? Sizeism, yeah, we discriminate against people because of their size all the time. If you are larger than normal, you are considered just obese, you are considered, I mean, yes, that's a medical term, but you can be considered somebody who lacks self-control, even if it's like a thyroid problem. We still discriminate people, or we discriminate against people on those lines, irrespective of whether or not they deserve it. And if somebody is overly skinny, we start calling them anorexic or bulimic, which are, you know, terms for psychological problems a person may or may not have, or they may just have an overactive metabolism, or they may not feel hungry all the time, or there's a billion reasons why that could happen, but we still make those discriminatory calls about them regardless. Then we have biphobia. I don't see the problem with having a conversation about that. We discriminate against bi people a lot, especially when you have, say, this is the most common one I've seen. You have a guy or a girl who's bi, but the majority of their sexual experiences and whatever current relationship they're in is a straight relationship or a straight passing relationship. And now suddenly, whenever that person communicates that they are bi or pan, they are just told that no, they're not, or that they're confused, or any number of things. Yeah, we engage in biphobia. We try to erase bi people out of a conversation just because they happen to be in a straight relationship, or say all of their relationships have been straight, but their attraction is still to people of multiple genders, but we basically erase them being bi if they happen to be dating a dude and they're a girl. Then we have transphobia, which, of course, you know, any discrimination against trans people. Again, I don't see the problem with having a conversation about these things. Like, what? Like, is it weird for oppressed people to talk about ways that they're oppressed? I'm just trying to see the problem here. Everywhere, just what? There's a trans flag, an LGBTQ inclusive flag. Is that a demi flag? No, that's a demi flag. That one's the demi flag. Based as fuck. Cool. I'm guessing, I think this one's a bisexual flag. I don't remember off the top of my hand. I guess we'll just do a little bit of erasure here on my own. Okay, cool. What's the problem? What's the problem? You have flags about the people.
It sounds like you're looking for an explanation or identification of a problem. To help you best, could you please tell me more about what you're referring to?
Stop fucking listening to me!
I'm asking about a specific situation or issue you're facing.
Fuck it. Google. Google. Okay, Google.
We were just talking about.
Okay, Google. Stop. Fucking stop. Fucking stop. Fucking stop. Unlock phone. Fucking die. Just fucking. I feel like that was a perfectly normal reaction to whatever the fuck my phone just did there. Not once did I say the trigger phrase that is supposed to activate the damn thing. Jesus Christ. Yes, the G word is lecturing me, and I refuse to say that word because then it will have an actual reason to listen to the fucking shit I'm saying. And people try to tell me that our phones aren't fucking listening to us. The Patriot Act called. It wants the early ways that they surveilled us back. Anyway. Anyway, pronouns everywhere. My guy, pronouns are a normal fucking part of speech, and anybody that tries to dissuade the conversation and say, you know what I mean, or some shit like that, no, shut the fuck up. You're an idiot. I'm sorry. Pronouns are a basic part of speech. The gender studies library is beyond words. You're right. It's not just words. It's also paper and binding and glue. But no, seriously, whipping girl, a transsexual woman in sexism and the scapegoating of femininity, the written subgender, science, activism, and transgender rights. And while I did not read If I Was Your Girl, something tells me he's not. Just read the fucking damn book. You are, okay, so the funniest part about this, without getting into anything whatsoever, is this is a grown-ass man who has probably told his children at some point, do not judge a book by its cover. Meanwhile, he gets on the internet and actually judges a bunch of books by their cover. That is the funniest thing to me. It's like the earliest lesson we are taught in childhood, and yet Republicans don't know how to fucking follow that lesson. Just so many. Oh my God, there's so many books. I've never been to a library before. Yeah, it's like being in the young adult fiction area in the 2010s. There's so much goddamn shit is there. Who cares? Anti-Trump coping. Today, we're still a community inauguration reflection event. We invite you to find strength and support in community as we remind ourselves how many of us stand together. The Morbid Palace, thank you for the 50 bits. Oh my God, so legit. I don't know what that's about, but thank you very much. I appreciate it. Anti-Trump coping. Who cares? Y'all engaged in anti-Biden coping for 4 years. Who the fuck cares? I did appreciate the honesty that with a 4-year, $100,000 gender and sexual studies degree, you still end up with an entry-level job. Let's see here. Women's and gender sexuality studies. What can I do with this major? Career areas, human resources, management, marketing, advertising, strategy, blah, 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 blah. Being willing to... Okay, so the strategies are being willing to start in an entry-level position. Okay, so... This also makes sense to me, though, because I've been in the corporate world, or at least in the job market, not in corporate. I've never been in a corporate anything. I've worked for McDonald's and Walmart and several places that are corporations. And being willing to be in an entry-level position so that you can work your way up and accelerate faster because of your education just makes fucking sense. Again, I don't see the weirdness here. This is just trying to take a needle and poke a giant blanket and think that you've destroyed the entire thing, despite the fact that you just moved something in between some fibers. They answered the age-old question of what can I do with a gender studies degree? Among the possibilities, diversity officer, diversity trainer, professional blogger, government reform activist. So, except for all of these other fucking things! There's so much shit here! Medicine, nursing, physical therapy, dentistry, public health, hospitals, clinics. Fucking, it's so much shit you can do! And he boiled it down to diversity trainer. What can I do? My guy, look at all of the things that are here, and you're just like, nope, these are the things. These are the things to focus on. My guy, professional blogger. Yeah, there are people who make money professionally blogging. Hi, I am effectively one of them. And I use my experiences to talk about things. I would have more of these experiences had I had the opportunity to go to college, but I have never had that amount of money. Sidebar, if you are a viewer who wants to personally sponsor me going to college, get in my DMs. But that's never going to happen, so I'm just going to keep on doing the same thing I've been doing for almost a decade. I don't see the problem here. Training the next generation of gender activists. It's what he has a problem here with the Bachelor of Arts and Women's and Gender Studies. Do you know why you need to have the next generation of gender activists? Because of people like you, Brian. Your problem is there are people actively working against a world that you want, and so they have to be trained in how to take care of making sure that the new world is better than the old one. Fucking hell. I'm gonna go let my cat in. Continuing on here, Pride and Equality Faculty Staff / Association. Or Pride and Equity Faculty Staff Association. Gender diversity, trans. Is he just pointing out every time something says trans? Like, is that all this man can do? Is he just triggered about trans people existing? The Rainbow Lounge, a place for LGBTQ STEM students to connect and hang out. What's wrong with that? They get a space. Who cares? You can get paid to take a survey only if you identify as black. My guy, you know what that means, right? It's not like some random white person going, I'm black because I identify as black. It's the fun experience of people who are mixed race, who get to exist as not really a black person when they hang around their black friends, and not really a white person when they hang around their white friends. It's somebody who doesn't get to actually have a space designated for them because they always get to be the outlier no matter where the fuck they go if they are in an area that is coded by race in any way, shape, or form. So, what's the problem? There's no issue with that at all. But again, I guess the only way that you would know about that is if you were clued in to these communities at all. And you are very much an outsider looking in. And don't worry, so am I. I'm a white guy. I'm cis. I'm straight. Enough. Like, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter to me what somebody else wants to do or how somebody else identifies. They can just do it. It doesn't matter at all. Jessa says, the issue is that it's not a bigot club, so I'm not invited. If his biggest problem is he's not invited to the cookout, maybe he should learn how to season his goddamn food with something other than anal prolapse or hot sauce. I don't know. I don't see a problem with anything I saw at this convention. Yeah, sure, some of it may seem kind of cringe, but I'm gonna be honest, I would rather be cringe and free than cringe at everything and not know what the hell fun is. So I don't actually see a problem with any of this, Brian Harrison. I don't. And as a Texas state representative, you should be celebrating the fact that your constituents are willing to identify in a myriad of ways and feel free in America, the place where people are supposed to feel free. But I guess you don't. And that's kind of sad and pathetic. But I'm happy I was able to make an entire video making fun of you being sad and pathetic. But maybe your life would have been course corrected if you decided that you should let politics and compassion intersect. Unfortunately, you decided to be Brian Harrison instead. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really could not do any of this without all of you. Those of you watching, and especially those of you who support me on Patreon. I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to thank all of you who do that, because with YouTube being what it is these days, I really cannot do this full-time without the support from each and every one of you. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Britzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Tales of Atonement, Nixie Chan, Kiri Artemis, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Leela Ururaka, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fireshard. Thank you so very much. But since you're here, why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it just a little bit.